Welcome to the Lalulah podcast, real life conversations about modern sexuality and how to live a happy, healthy, turned on life. I'm your host Laura Allen, a holistic health coach and founder of Lalulah, an online platform offering natural erotica toys as well as the educational tools you need to expand your pleasure in and outside the bedroom. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lalulah podcast. Thank you for being here. Today I'm going to be doing a Q&A on Yoni eggs because I just get so many questions about Yoni eggs and I'm not surprised. It's quite a mystery, this whole Yoni egg practice and everything from is it safe, when to use it, when to not use it, pregnancy, what to even do with it, how to choose the right one, and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to try and get through as many questions as possible. And I think I'm just gonna dive straight into it. So the first question I've got is, what is a Yoni egg? Which is a really good question. So a Yoni egg is a crystal, typically a nephrite jade crystal that is carved into an egg-shaped insertable device, and women use it, they use it for many, many reasons, but the reason that I like to go with is to increase the sensitivity, the suppleness, the receptivity, and the flexibility inside the vagina. The jade egg practice, or the Yoni egg practice, it's traditionally called a jade egg practice because centuries ago in ancient China, the concubines would use nephrite jade Yoni eggs to cultivate their sexual energy and, radiate with that like sensuality and life force energy. It was kind of their magic secret, which has been passed down, and now it's becoming more mainstream again. There are so many ways that we can use Yoni eggs, and I'm going to go through it in this podcast a little bit, but I think the first thing to mention is Yoni eggs are not for getting a tight pussy. I've interviewed on the Lalulah podcast a vagina physiotherapist, and we go really in depth as to why the myth of the tight vagina is really just not the goal and how it can actually cause more pain and numbness and kind of shut down your pussy rather than enhance your sexual, spiritual, and emotional experience. So I want to urge you to check yourself before you wreck yourself, like literally. The thing that I get out of a Yoni egg practice the most, other than anything, is simply a self-care and a self-love ritual and a connection to my vagina, a connection to my womb, a connection to my sexual energy and to my radiance. And not only do I use my Yoni egg passively, as in when I'm walking around the house or sitting at my desk or, just using it in small chunks in my day-to-day activities, but also, having an actual practice with it every day really is about me kind of just connecting to myself and to my body. So again, we're going to go a little bit later into different ways that we can use the egg, but I think it's really important to get our intentions straight when we start doing stuff like this, because there are risks involved, and I want to urge you to look after yourself. Which leads me nicely into the next question, which is pregnancy. So if you already have a really strong jade egg practice leading up to pregnancy, then you might be able to do some really light yin passive practices, but I would make sure to check in with your specialist and your vagina physiotherapist or any of the other healthcare practitioners that you're working with throughout your pregnancy, to make sure that you're getting advice that is tailored specifically to you. And when it comes to post-birth, again, it depends on what your practice was prior to your pregnancy, but the general rule of thumb is to leave it for about 6 weeks. And again, make sure you consult your healthcare professional, because it really depends on the type of birth that you had and how your vagina is recovering. And so it's really, really important that you get professional advice that is tailored specifically to you and to your needs. And I absolutely love Yoni eggs. We stock them on the Lalulah store, but there are also other alternatives out there, and they're not the be all and end all when it comes to pelvic health care and keeping up with fitness in that area. There's actually a really awesome new product on the market that I've been introduced to recently. It's called LV, and it's a little bit techy, but it's awesome. And they're really like targeted and specialized at women who kind of have like continence issues, maybe recovering from prolapse and also post-birth. So check that out. I'll put it in the show notes. That might be something that's a little bit more appropriate for you at this stage, depending on what your intentions are with this practice. Next question is, what are the benefits of working with a yoni egg? I believe that working with a yoni egg is all about increasing sensitivity inside our vagina, because we live in a world where we're really fast paced and we're using quick to come solutions like vibrators. But by working with a yoni egg, it's really helped me to slow down and tune in to the subtle sensitivities inside my vagina, and really start to get to know my body in this way. We spend so much time eating the right food, going to the gym, working out, looking good, doing our hair, doing our makeup, yet we can really neglect this part of our body. And so one of the benefits of a jade egg practice, I believe, is just to simply tune in and spend time with this area that is so, so important. Another benefit is the healing qualities of working with a jade egg or a yoni egg. We walk around during the day with our 6-pack clenched and everything tensed inside our abdominals, and we don't realize how much of that tension we actually keep and store inside our vagina. So by working with a yoni egg or a jade egg, we're really able to release the tension, release the knots, and start to relax inside our pussy, which inevitably increases the receptivity for more pleasure. De-armoring is a common term when you start to, dive deep into yoni massage and womb work and pussy power and all of that kind of stuff. And de-armoring is really about exploring the inside of your vagina and finding tension or a knot or a numb area and putting pressure on it and slowly working with it, just like you would in your shoulders or in the back of your neck, and working with it to release whatever is stored in there. I want to let you know that it's important to get the support that you need when you're doing this work, because it can be quite profound and a lot can come up. Emotional, spiritual, energetic healing in this area is really powerful, and I want to make sure that you're safe. You can join Lalulah Ladies, which is our Facebook group. And there's a whole crew of like-minded ladies in there ready to support each other if we're going through anything big like this and we may not have, the kind of instant support around us that we might be needing at the time. So depending on the type of stone that you're working with, there's the metaphysical properties of the individual crystals, right? So for example, if you're working with a rose quartz yoni egg, like rose quartz to me is simply the epitome of self-love. And sometimes I just like to wear my rose quartz yoni egg inside my vagina to remind myself of the love that I have, and to just infuse that warm, gentle, soft, compassionate energy into this area. Especially when we start to do this work, sometimes we're really undoing a lot that we've been exposed to throughout our lives. I remember when I first started playing in this realm and started listening to my pussy, and oh my God, she was angry. She was mad at me. She's just like, what the hell, honey? Like, no, I am just not okay with any of this. So by working with a more gentle stone like a rose quartz, it can be really such a beautiful way to work with yourself and just to practice, hey, I love you, I've got you, I'm here for you. Whereas if you're working with obsidian, which is a dark black stone, obsidian is really known for withdrawing kind of negative energy and like transmuting some of the darker shadow that can be lurking in that area. There are other stones like jasper, which is great for grounding. There's clear quartz, which to be honest is my personal favorite. There's just something about clear quartz. It feels so light and playful. It's definitely something that helps me to move my sexual energy from the lower regions of my body right up into my third eye and my crown, and it helps give me clarity, purpose, direction. There's something kind of masculine about that, that kind of, that clarity and that purpose and direction. And yeah, working with that, look, this is just my personal experience, has been quite powerful, because I know healing my personal relationship with the masculine, quote unquote, has been quite a task for me over the last couple of years. And by working with my sexual energy and like allowing that to sort of like nourish and love and accept those parts of me and bring those healthy characteristics into my own personal life has just been amazing. So I think the moral of the story here, when it comes to choosing a stone that's right for you, it's really important that you just go with what your body is calling for. I wouldn't even do too much research into what each of these stones mean or anything like that. Your body is going to intuitively go for what it needs. And it's really interesting to just sort of look at them, feel them, and choose the one that you're like magnetized to the most, and then go and figure out what that stone means and what it can do for you. So yeah, just use it as a practice to really tune into what it is that you actually want before getting influenced by, what the stone means or what other people like to do. Yeah. Next question is, can young women benefit too? And what is the ideal age group to be working with a yoni egg? This is a really great question. And again, the interview that I've done with the vagina physiotherapist, we really go into this more and more, because pelvic floor awareness and pelvic floor health is not just important when we're having an issue down there. It's like we don't even think about it until there's a problem. And there are so many ways that we can keep our pelvic floor healthy, happy, fit, and flexible throughout our entire lives. And how we do that will change in each phase. How we work with our pelvic floor will be completely different when we're 19, 20 to when we've just had a baby, and again to the menopausal vagina. But they are all equally important, and there is no kind of age group where it's better or worse. It's really just about tuning into what exercises and what types of practices are going to be beneficial. So definitely check out that episode. I always believe that working in this area is important, not only to avoid issues that can happen in the future, like, incontinence and so on, but again, just for the spiritual and the emotional and the self-care aspect of it all. Like, honestly, there is just nothing more delicious and delectable and like indulgent than spending the evening with your pussy and just being like, hey, we're going to self-pleasure and, taking the orgasm out of it and just saying, I want to spend time with you. I want to love you. I'm going to nourish you in this way. And that's relevant at any time of our life. Yeah. Next question. How long does it take to notice changes? So I personally, if I'm really active in my yoni egg practice, then literally within a week, I will start to notice heightened sensitivity and receptivity inside my vagina. It's just like a muscle. If we're going to the gym every day and doing squats, we're going to feel a difference quite soon. And then if we stop, it'll kind of fade off again. So just think about it as a set of muscles, because that's what your pelvic floor is. It's a set of muscles, and a yoni egg practice is simply engaging these muscles. The next thing I want to speak to when it comes to having a yoni egg practice, as opposed to just wearing your yoni egg passively, around the house and so on, is to approach it with a yogic mindset. So I like to divide it into two separate categories, right? So you've got this like weightlifting vagina, and I always think of Arnold Schwarzenegger when I hear this, because it's, it's like you're pumping iron and, you're like getting gains, and it just feels really like raw, and it actually feels quite tight and strained and strenuous. And I sort of don't like to encourage that as much. I mean, like, definitely strengthening your muscles in there and increasing the fitness and having a toned pussy is beautiful, but we don't need them to be really strong and tight and like muscular. So I always like to approach a yoni egg practice in a yogic mindset, which is really about breath work, connectivity, union with, the divine and so on, as well as flexibility. So you've got strength and you've got toning and all of that kind of stuff, but you've also got grace and ease and relaxation and flexibility and suppleness. There's an opening in that. You're opening and you're like allowing your body to receive in yoga, as opposed to it being quite mechanical in that more kind of like weightlifting sense of a yoni egg practice. So that is my personal opinion. There are plenty of people in this space who have their own ways of practicing with the yoni egg. And again, it's about tuning into what feels right for you and going with that. Can it be left in for long periods of time? Yes, it's a good question. There are actually a lot of varying views on this. And again, I do think it's like dependent on your pussy, your vagina microbiome, and also how long your vagina wants to work with the egg. Like, I personally notice that my pussy will birth or reject the egg when it's done. That can be in 5 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, or perhaps even a couple of hours. You can leave your yoni egg in for up to 12 hours. Some women like to leave it in overnight. And I think that that's fine as well. I've personally done it myself and I've never had an infection. No one who I've spoken to about this has had any issues with that. But if you're someone who is susceptible to vaginosis or bacterial infections or UTIs, then perhaps your microbiome needs a little bit of TLC, and working a lot with insertables might not be ideal for you at this time. I recently did an interview with Moira Bradfield about the vagina microbiome, and she goes really in depth about, yoni eggs, menstrual cups, what's safe, what's not, how to keep everything clean hygienically, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So yeah, definitely check out that podcast. I'll put it in the link below as well. I've also got on my YouTube channel some care videos. So if hygiene and safety is something that you are concerned about, then definitely check those out because we go way more in depth into this topic there. Next question is, what happens if it gets stuck? So this is a really common question and something that a lot of women can get scared about, but it is physically impossible for your yoni egg to get stuck inside your vagina. The only thing that would be keeping it up there is that tension and your muscles clenching out of, anxiety or fear, because maybe you've been working with it and you're a little bit nervous and you're still learning to relax your pussy and it's not just coming out effortlessly like you'd first thought. So there's a couple of solutions to this. One of them is by purchasing a drilled egg, which we now stock on the Lalulah store, and that means that you can thread through that drilled hole some natural, like non-toxic floss. Floss is the most commonly used tool. So that you can simply just pull it out when you're done. And then that way you are going into this with 100% peace of mind. Just a point to mention is if you are using a drilled egg, you really need to make sure that that hole is getting cleaned properly. So again, refer back to our care videos on our YouTube channel to make sure that you're practicing optimal hygiene. But that's a really great way. And I think the next thing I want to say is to not stress about it. It's physically impossible for your yoni egg to go up into your womb. And I can guarantee that the second you forget that it's in there, your body will relax and you'll start to feel it moving out. So another great way to get your yoni egg out is to birth it. So you literally squat down and you push it out just like you would push out a baby. Or you can also insert your fingers inside your vagina and, move it around and slowly kind of pull it out yourself. I think it's really important to remind yourself to stay relaxed. If you can't birth it out, if you've inserted your fingers and it's painful, or, if you're getting a bit stressed that it's not coming out, then I want to invite you to just park it for the minute, try to relax, make yourself a cup of tea, or just go ahead with your day. And the moment you start to forget that it's in there, your muscles will loosen and gravity will do its natural work, baby. So yeah, use it as a practice to stay relaxed in that area and trust and allow your body to do what it wants to do. Next question. How do I decide on a size? So typically yoni eggs come in 3 sizes: small, medium, and large. The size that we sell on the website is a medium size. It's the most popular size and it's the most versatile size. If you are post-pregnancy, then I would recommend that you go for a bigger size, and the smaller ones are for people who are a little bit more advanced. In saying that, I know I've noticed that a lot of women, kind of goal orientated and are working up to the small size yoni egg. But honey, I gotta say, I have a lot of the big ones, and I actually prefer to work with them, especially when it comes to self-pleasure. I just find that it activates my G-spot better, and there's just kind of like more to work with in there, and I just prefer it. So yeah, don't think that your pussy is like optimum because you've finally reached like small yoni egg status. Again, like tune in, what feels good, what are we doing here, and just go with what you think is right for you. I highly recommend starting with a medium-sized egg and just going from there. Next question: what to do with a yoni egg? I get it. I so get it. It's like, great, I've got a yoni egg. Now what? Like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this thing? So there are two different ways to work with a yoni egg, and we've discussed them already a little bit. But just to clarify, there's passive and active use. So passive use is when you are simply wearing it in your day-to-day life, which is beautiful. I love doing it. Again, it depends like how long my pussy wants to have it in. Sometimes I'll be wearing it all day. Other times it only just wants a little 10-minute lovin', and it comes out when it wants to. So that's how you can work with it passively, and it totally still works. It's like I put crystals inside my water bottle to remind me of certain things. I might have like a red jasper in my water bottle to remind me to stay grounded. Now, does this crystal change the vibration of the water and all of that kind of stuff? There is some science behind that, but to me, it doesn't matter, because every time I look at my water bottle and I see that red jasper crystal, I'm reminded to stay grounded, which brings me back into my body and grounds me. And that is the science. That is it literally working. And it's the same inside my vagina. So if I have a rose quartz crystal inside my pussy during the day, and every time I feel it moving around, and I'm just gently and lovingly and pleasurably reminded to, be compassionate towards myself, show the most love for myself, then that's what, come on. It just, done. Job done, if you ask me. The other way to work with your yoni egg is actively. And there's a lot of different courses out there that can teach you yoni egg practices that vary from yoni yoga, which is literally a set of pelvic floor yoga exercises mixed in with breath work and, Kegels essentially to help tone your vagina as well as your abdominals, and just kind of get some like health and fitness and breath work and juicy orgasmic energy flowing around your body. I personally love to work with it in this way. There are some other teachers that are like very esoteric and bring all sorts of like spiritual aspects into it. I do want to say that breath work is hugely important when it comes to working with a yoni egg. With any kind of sexual practice, you want to be moving that energy around your body. You want to be engaging with the sensations and the emotions and learning how to move them, because that's what emotion is. It's energy and motion. So incorporating breath into your yoni egg practice, and that can simply be you sitting down cross-legged on the floor with your yoni egg inserted. And this breathwork practice is called the microcosmic orbit, which is a really weird name, but I get it. And what you do is you visualize breathing into your pelvis. I like to visualize filling it with light and pleasure and love and just absolute juiciness and divinity, and I'm breathing all of that energy into my pelvis, and I'm literally visualizing a light growing and throbbing in that area. And then as I breathe out, I clench my vagina muscles around the yoni egg, and I breathe out and I imagine all of that light and that juicy, pleasurable energy running up the back of my spine, up past my heart, up my neck, into my crown chakra. And then again, I breathe out and it all just falls down the front of my body and back into my pelvis. So I usually visualize it with that light, and I move that light around my body, breathing in, breathing out, clenching the vagina, the pelvic floor as you breathe out. And this practice is amazing because the more that you do it, I love doing it every day, like at the beginning or at the end of a meditation for about 5 minutes, because it helps me to move that pleasurable energy around my body. And it also helps me to hold it, like hold that orgasmic energy. You know, sometimes it's like I'm getting really excited, I'm getting really pleasurable, I'm getting really turned on, and it's just like, oh, I can't like hold this orgasmic energy. Whereas when I do this practice a lot, I notice that my capacity to hold that pleasure in my body increases and grows and expands and throbs out into all the areas of my body, like into my heart, into my chest, into my throat, into my fingers. And yeah, that's definitely just such a powerful tool to get started with. There are a few teachers who specialize in yoni egg practices, and I'm going to link to them below. So if you wanted to like really develop your yoni egg practice, you can start with one of their courses. I am currently thinking about creating a yoni yoga course myself, but we're still in the process of doing that. So in the meantime, I highly recommend that you check out these links that I have below. I also want to say another way to use your yoni egg, and that is to self-pleasure. Oh my God, it's just like amazing. Instead of using your crystal wand or another dildo or a vibrator, whatever kind of insertable you might be using at the time, I love to work with a yoni egg, mostly because I don't have to use my hands. It leaves my hands free to, touch my breasts and touch my belly and just like grab my thighs, anything. And I can work with my yoni egg inside my vagina simply by clenching the muscles and moving it up and down the vaginal canal that way. And I mean, yeah, it's pretty amazing. So self-pleasure all the way. Great way to use your yoni egg, hands down. One last thing I wanted to say about a yoni egg practice is getting turned on and practicing a mindful insertion technique. Okay, so we're going to go into that. But firstly, I want to talk about getting turned on. Arousal is so important, like actually giving ourselves the space and time to be fully engorged in our yonis is such a gift, and not one that we are used to experiencing, especially in our busy lives. And we're very much a society that's been educated by porn, which doesn't really allow for feminine arousal. So really learn to turn yourself on to the point where your yoni is begging to be penetrated. You barely have to push the yoni egg in. It is just like your vagina is sucking it, pulling it, asking for it to be penetrated. So different ways to turn yourself on. Again, this is this is for you to experiment and to play and to learn what your body loves the most. But I always love to start with a breast massage, okay? Our heart and our breasts are such a huge energetic center for the woman, and practicing a breast massage even every day without it being a goal orientated or orgasm experience, just really opening up that area and allowing yourself the space and time to be with your heart, breathe into your heart, rub your breasts with different techniques. Again, there are some videos on how to do this, and I'll link them in the show notes below so that you've got some clear direction. But I highly recommend starting with the breasts and practicing a beautiful massage practice to start getting those juices flowing. Oh, I love to dance. I love to dance in front of the mirror. I love to witness myself, body massage, full body massage, breathing into your womb space, practicing that microcosmic orbit like we discussed before, starting to build that erotic energy and maintaining it inside your body before any penetration starts. And why I wanted to talk about mindful insertion is because so often in our lives, we are penetrated when we're not ready. We're penetrated energetically. We're bombarded every day by, advertisements, everything. We're constantly being penetrated by things that we don't necessarily want or need in our space. And this isn't every woman's experience, but a lot of the women I talk to have have had experiences where, they have been penetrated when they weren't fully ready. And that can be, obviously the sexual abuse side. It can also be soft trauma where you had a big night out and you were drunk and you've had sex with someone and it was consensual, but you were under the influence and therefore it wasn't, you weren't able to give yourself that full body yes. And and even with our partners, with our lovers, with people who we love and trust dearly, it's still so easy. I still do this, to just allow entry when we're not fully ready. So mindful insertion is all about tuning in and listening to your pussy's no. And honoring that, because she has a voice and she wants to be heard so badly. So to start building trust and connection with this part of your body, we need to listen. We need to tune in. And so that's why meditation and, breast massage and arousal is so important, because we're really starting to connect with that area and listen. And when you have your yoni egg and you are, working with it, slowly massaging your vulva with your yoni egg, you can just hold it at the entrance and ask, are you ready? And you will get the yes or the no. And if it's a no, honor that. Maybe your pussy is only for the first time having the opportunity to say no. I remember when I first started, working with my pussy, and she was just like, oh my God, she said no a lot. I was celibate for a long time. But it's such a powerful practice to really get to know and to honor your no's, so that when you do say yes, it's meaningful and it's powerful and it's authentic. So yeah, I really highly recommend to practice insertion with your yoni egg or with anything mindfully, and asking, slowing down, staying grounded, tuning into yourself. Do I want this? Is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it a maybe? If it's a maybe, it's a no. And taking the time to listen, and then honoring that, following through. If it's a no, just say no, and keep going back into other pleasure, other ways to pleasure yourself, because we can reach climax and have orgasmic experiences without being penetrated, right? Yeah, that feels good. Well, I hope you enjoyed. This is it. That's all the questions that I've got. If you've got any follow-up questions to this, please just reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Laura Allen, and you can also contact me through the website. If you're interested in purchasing a Yoni egg, we get our Yoni eggs from Yoni Pleasure Palace through Rosie Rees, and they are certified genuine rose quartz Yoni eggs. They are the drilled Yoni eggs, so you can use the floss if you're just starting out. Yeah, and just have a beautiful time. Have an amazing time. If you enjoyed this episode, hit like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And don't forget to share it with someone who you think could benefit from hearing it too. You can also sign up for Lalulah news and stay up to date with all the juicy content that we only share on email. And I want to take a moment to honor you for following your curiosity and prioritizing your pleasure in this way. And until next time, thank you so much for listening. And I'll be back with another episode soon.